So Jen and I and my mom, Mama Terry,
Yes.
talked about her game that she created.
Yes.
5, and now her and I are bringing it back, and we're trying to get it out to the masses.
Yeah.
This week has been a really big week for that because we got it approved on Amazon. So
Yay.
I know. So a shipment goes out to Amazon on Monday.
That's so
You
exciting.
will be able to buy Numberkins card game,
Yay.
math game for kids, on Amazon. So
Love it.
this week has been a lot of her and I FaceTiming and making sure that we've read everything correctly and that everything's just good to go. And it's surprisingly, I guess not surprisingly, it's been a lot of work because with Amazon, there's just a lot of there's a good amount of loopholes. I mean,
Yeah.
you're selling a product. So there's been a lot to do this week. And I feel like I've barely talked to Jen and I've really missed you.
I hate when we're so busy that we don't talk enough and that we're only like texting like once a day. What is that? Like, hey, how was your day? What is that? It's like, if this was a relationship, I'd be like, I don't know. I think there's some distance.
Is she going to break up with
here.
me? No, and this is what happens in my mind. And I should have better confidence in this. I am like a strong, independent woman. But when Jen and I haven't talked for a while, I'm like, is she mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Am I not posting enough to our social media?
No,
did I do something?
I'm not thinking any of those things ever.
She's like, I'm not thinking about you at all, actually.
No, I'm thinking about you and how much I miss you and love you. I'm never thinking I'm mad.
It's just how I feel. But yeah, so that is the big news.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I guess we'll tell you. And also, I don't know if this is big news or sad news or just news, but this is our season finale.
Season 1 in the bag. Something
we
like
did
that,
it.
right? We did it.
Wow. Go us.
I'm excited.
And we were consistent.
And we're going to like leave 2020 behind. I mean, this was good. This was a good part of 2020. There are things that I need to remember to be grateful for and things that were positive in 2020. And this was definitely one of them. And I think extremely helpful probably for us to have this during 2020 with everything going on.
I do feel like this year I reinvented myself, like Taylor Swift in her Red period, and pretty much every album after that. I don't know, maybe Blonde Ambition tour with Madonna. I don't know. I just feel like this is a period of reinvention for me. So it hasn't been all bad. When I start to get sad looking at my time hop telling me that yesterday, a year ago, I was at Universal Studios with my husband meeting the Grinch, and then I want to cry or throw my phone.
That was your TikTok.
Oh, my first. And I didn't understand TikTok, so I'm just like, I can just like post this video, right? And then that's it.
Then
I actually looked at TikTok and realized that that's not how you do it at all. So then I'm like, delete the sex. Jen, why'd you have to bring that up now? I'm getting like embarrassed all over again.
I got the light bulb went off. Like, wait a second, I remember that.
So a year ago, I posted my first TikTok and it was terrible. So that is a great memory. So when I think about that, then I have to remind myself that I have learned how to appreciate being home more, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing. You figure it out, and we've both done some home projects that we have ignored for a long time.
Like you painted an entire room and bathroom?
Let's be fair. I painted nothing, but my husband did. He did paint the whole living room, the whole hallway area, the bathroom. I feel like you painted something else, but now I don't remember.
I think you should post a picture of your bathroom because it looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. Maybe I will.
The before and after is so good.
Yeah.
So for today's season finale, we thought that we would talk about some of our favorite episodes and maybe share a few clips from them. I mean, 34, 35-ish episodes in one season is not nothing. And the fact that we managed to stay consistent, I think we maybe missed 1 week in the middle of quarantine during a pandemic with our kids at home, distance learning.
It's pretty
Go us.
Yeah. I mean,
we're kind of amazing.
We are. We're magical. That's what I think.
We should win a trip to Disney World.
We should absolutely.
I mean, honestly, any reason to go to Disney is fine with us. But I thought it might be fun to start with the Magical Mommy pilot. This is, we should call this the one where Angela and Jen are so excited. We just don't make sense.
Right. Yes. The giddiness just overpowers the entire thing.
Completely took over. We allegedly talked about how this podcast became a reality and talked about our favorite Disney resorts for families. But all I remember is looking at you and smiling the biggest smile ever the whole time.
Oh, we had no idea what was in store 2 weeks later.
Oh my gosh. No, seriously. I think it came out on my birthday, which was March 2nd. That's what it was. We were waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it did.
Right. But we were so excited because we were fresh off a Disney trip at the end of January. I think we recorded like the end of February.
We did.
So we were a few weeks out from a Disney trip where we got to meet in person, and it was fabulous.
Life was good.
I had just kingdom like.
Oh my gosh, you're right. So we had the siblings together.
Yes.
We were starting a podcast. Yes. I had started a YouTube channel and there was no pandemic, so we could be around people.
Yeah, like we saw people's faces. I hugged everyone I met on that trip.
Oh, and I got to talk to Sam in person for the first time, and she was wearing the cutest pink Spirit jersey.
Yes.
Oh, I loved it so much. I remember I just kept staring at it. But yes, our pilot is just, if you have not listened to it, I can't tell. I just can't decide if I should suggest you listen to it or not. You know what? Here's a clip and you decide for yourself if you want to, because it's a little bit ridiculous. Oh my gosh, this is the pilot. This is the official episode.
I don't even know what's happening.
This is like Derek and Meredith waking up in her house and then she kicks him out before her first day of work. This is the pilot.
This is big.
Ready for 16 seasons, and
I'm ready.
Continuing. Yeah,
we're gonna do that. We'll do 20.
Well, okay. So why don't we tell you how this episode's going to work today? Yeah. So we are going to give you a background of us and how we met, how we started talking, that whole shebang.
Yes.
And how this podcast came to fruition. And then we're going to do a nice short and sweet topic to give you a preview of what to expect on Magical Mommy Mondays. I really love how that flows off the tongue.
I know.
Yes.
We only came up with that name like a little bit ago. Well, we had a portion of it, but I like the new one. It's very fancy.
Since I was just talking about Sam from, I botched this, the Monday Morning Monorail podcast.
Yes.
Okay. We actually had her on the podcast for 2 episodes.
Yes.
We need to have her back.
Because on that trip, that same Disney trip, where you were admiring her Spirit jersey, we were all together that whole day, and we were in all the queue lines together. We were chatting it up the whole time. We probably would have been on Haunted Mansion together. It split up a little bit so she could ride with Mackenzie. And I mean, I love you, Angela, but I don't know. I think she got the better end of that deal riding with Mackenzie. So
she's way cooler than me.
I know. But so it was so much fun to have her on then, especially in the beginning when we had just seen her and we were able to chat and learn more about her and her family.
Our parenting was totally different immediately. Like you could tell, because Justin had invited me and McKenna over to hang out, and he was going to make us dinner. And one thing about Justin is he can't cook. The guy can't cook.
A really good strategy on his part.
We should have ordered a pizza. But he made like these hash browns with peppers and onions, like frozen hash browns, like home fries or whatever, with peppers and onions. And he put kielbasa sausage in it and broccoli that he didn't steam to soften up or anything. And then he put that all in a skillet, cooked it, and then put slices of American cheese on top. And I was like, okay, that's cool. He's trying. How cute is that? But then the first thing I noticed was he puts this big pile of food on the kids' plates and my plate. And he was like, all right, guys, eat. And I'm looking at him like, that's a lot of food. And he was like, yeah. He was like, you can eat that. And I was like, maybe, but I don't want to. But Garrett, he's like teeny tiny. You can't make him eat all that. And he was like going to make Garrett sit in his high chair and eat all that food. And I was like, oh, I got to get this. This boy needs a mama.
We need to remedy this situation.
Yeah.
So something Angela and I had talked about privately, I don't know. I feel like me, you, and Frank also talked about it at one point, but we were just talking about anxiety in general and how we had both had our own experiences with it and some stories to share. And we thought, you know what, we're doing this podcast. We're trying to be real. There's so many people that could relate to it. Maybe we just share our stories and see if it hits home for anyone else, see if maybe it helps somebody else, take some shame away that some people have tied to anxiety, all of that. So that's what we did with this episode.
Yeah, we definitely got really real. Spoiler, I cried, and then Jen cried because she's the sweetest, most like empathetic person ever. But if you feel like this topic might be a trigger for you, I would probably skip. We will put a timestamp to skip to in the description below. We do talk about anxiety and depression. So again, if you feel like that might be a trigger for you, just skip over this one. I was predisposed to have anxiety. Several family members have it in my immediate family. So it was just one of those things where I was going to have it no matter what. There are certain things in my childhood that happened that kind of just bumped it up a notch. So I guess I'll get into that. So it's always weird. Like, it's like when you go see a new therapist, because, that's my life. It's like when you go see a new therapist and you're like, I guess I'll just break into my traumas now.
Do you want the list? Do you want to ask questions? How should we go about this?
Yeah. And yeah, I guess we'll just jump right in. So when I was probably 8 years old, my two childhood friends died in a car accident. They were both in the car with their family members, and both of them died. So all the kids in the family, they both died. So I learned very young what death was and that it could happen to children. Mm-hmm. And so I think I kind of started having a fear of death then.
So I love that in the mix of our awesome Disney community that we are in contact with and our love for Disney, and we've done a lot of episodes about that, but we've also tried to talk to professionals that work with children, especially in education. And one of the first people we talked to about that was my friend Allie, who is basically family at this point, also known as Alexis, but I can only call her Allie because that's how she was introduced to us. And she was my son's speech therapist from the time he was about 2.5 until he went to kindergarten. So we had her come on mostly to talk to us about things that families could look out for, ways to help, especially in the beginning of quarantine, that if you had your child at home who was having speech difficulties, what they could do. And in the process, it was my turn to cry. And I just basically bawled my eyes out that entire episode because of my love for Ellie and everything she did for our family. So we did a whole, I don't even know. That episode to me is so funny because I feel like there was just so much crying. And then we finally got to the meat of it towards the end of it.
No, Allie is definitely one of those people where like Jen and I have a list of people that were like, yes, you're coming into Disney with us.
Yeah.
Allie, I feel, is towards the top of that list.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so funny, just as a side note, I've actually in real life have met some of her family, and I met her brother, and I must have called her name or said Allie, and he was like, it's interesting. How come you call her Allie? And I was like, oh yeah, I forget she doesn't really go by Allie to anyone else, but Alexis is a little tough for kids that either don't speak or are just learning to speak. So
he's probably like,
and apparently too tough for the parents to let go of. So,
she's like two different identities. It's
yes,
fine.
Exactly.
All right, here's a clip with Miss Allie.
I also love Disney. I am not as Disney crazed as Jen and the Dillos are. I do love the magic of Disney. It is a magical, magical place.
Yes.
And my sister-in-law was about to surprise my brother and her kids for my brother's 50th birthday, which is in 3 weeks. And they were going. And I couldn't have been like, I even just feel the excitement right now. I couldn't have been more excited for them. They've never been, my brother's never been, we didn't go as kids. Yeah. And I went when I first got married, and then I took my kids several times, but they have never been. So I was beyond excited and disappointed for them, but hopefully they'll go in the fall.
Oh, I hope so. Like
I know, me too.
Oh, something about the first trip. I get so excited for people.
Yeah. I know. And I was helping her plan it. I was so excited. Everything was being sent here. I was getting all the packages.
Oh my gosh.
Magic bands were coming to you.
Yes. And I was, it's ridiculous because my kids are now 18 and 20. And I haven't been in a while. My ex-husband and I, who were very close, and we took them together many times, but we had been once. My sister-in-law told me she was planning a trip. The two of us were like, oh, we should go back. So then we were planning it. My kids are like, whatever, we don't really want to go, but my ex-husband and I want to go back.
Yeah.
So we were going to take them back, whether they liked it or not.
All right, the next episode that I want to go back to is all about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. As I've mentioned several times, I'm sure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is really close to my heart. I am currently a blue belt, but I have not trained since probably March because of this stinking pandemic. And it is a sacrifice I'm willing to make because I want to keep myself, my family, and everyone else safe. But you know, if we're getting down to the nitty gritty, it is something that I do miss. And, you know, it's one of my passions. Okay. I just want to agree. But we talked to Vanessa from Rio Jitsu, Minnesota. She is the manager there, and her husband and their best friend, like a brother to them, they co-own it. So we talked with her about her jiu-jitsu journey, you know, women and kids and jiu-jitsu, and just everything you need to know about it. This was one of my favorite episodes up until that point to record. So I hope that you enjoy.
The nice thing about jiu-jitsu and the reason why I think it's really good for women is that you don't necessarily need to use your strength. So if you have the correct technique, you can overcome strength. So in a situation of self-defense, it would be great for a woman that does jiu-jitsu against a guy that knows nothing and is using strength against you. So I think I believe that is one of the best ways for self-defense for women and kids too. So,
and I would say a good example of that is, you know, I could be doing jiu-jitsu a year, and a wrestler will come in who's never done jiu-jitsu before, but they'll have done wrestling forever.
Yeah.
And you will grapple or roll with them for, would you say 3 minutes, Vanessa? 3 to 5 minutes. And they'll be completely gassed. They'll be panting. Yeah. Oh gosh, maybe less than 5 minutes. They'll be completely out of breath because they're using all their muscle to try to hold you down. But in jiu-jitsu, because you're learning leverage and technique to use their body against them, you know, you're not tired at all. I mean, you're probably a little tired, but nowhere near them who would, you know, they kind of want to pass out.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what happens with a lot of people that comes from other sports and other martial arts. I've done that for like years. So jiu-jitsu will be easy. And then they start on the warm-ups, okay, I'm good. And then they start like, okay, I can row. And they start to row and like they are tired after one row. Sometimes, okay, they lasted a lot, 2 rows, and that's it. They're like, okay, I'm tired. I'll come back tomorrow. I really loved it, but I'll come back tomorrow.
So someone else we talked to that really works a lot with families and kids, but people of all ages, is Becky Liddon. She runs Sensory Spectacle. She is from the UK. So first of all, talking to her with her amazing accent was a joy of mine. But I had come across her a few years ago when I started suspecting that my son had some sensory difficulties. And I felt like she was such a beacon of light, or a great resource for me to come across, because she provided so much information. She has a great YouTube channel where she breaks a lot of things down that are a lot easier for people to understand. It was a great way for me to share some of her clips with family. So I was just so excited that she said that she would come on and talk to us. She had just started a podcast as well. So it was so awesome that she came on to chat with us. So here's a clip from that episode.
So Sensory Spectacle educate about sensory processing difficulties. So sensory processing difficulties are when people may have difficulties organizing the sensory information. So that's quite a tricky term to think about. But imagine if you're in a really busy shopping center and everything is just too much. So you've woken up with a headache and you still have to go shopping, and yet you can't get away from all of the people and all of the noise. And all you want to do is just leave the shopping centre and just go home and be quiet. So it might be that some people are really sensitive to sound and so cover their ears a lot of the time. Some people might need movement, and so they might be children and adults that find it really difficult to sit still. So, while they're eating, they're up and about and moving around. They might be flickering things, they might be chewing on things constantly, or they might be, finding clothing difficult to wear. And so I teach about why people might experience these things, but also how we can help people to understand it better if they're a child or adult themselves, but also how adults, parents, professionals can support children and adults better as well, so that everyone can feel a lot more confident and a lot more happy.
Our next clip is a guest that, oh my gosh, I think I said this at the beginning, if I knew that this was a bucket list option, she would have been on my guest bucket list, and it was Genevieve Goings. Oh my gosh, she's the star behind Choo Choo Soul, and everyone who's watched Disney Junior has heard Genevieve's voice.
Yes.
Do people know that you interviewed her again?
I don't know. If you don't know, she was just on Theme Park Thursday for a second time, because when she was on Magical Mommy Monday, that was part 1 of a 2, because we did a little Theme Park Thursday, Magical Mommy Monday crossover. Yeah. So we just had her on again, and hopefully she'll be back on Magical Mommies again in season 2 of our podcast. But she is just like the nicest person ever.
Gosh, she's kind of like a Jodie Benson, where when you talk to her, she makes you feel like you're the most important person in the room. And like, she really cares about what you're saying. You know how sometimes you talk to people and you're like, I can tell that you would rather be anywhere else right now. Genevieve talks to you and treats you like you're her best friend.
Yeah, and she's
but
so
we
energetic.
are.
We are, obviously, but yeah, she's so energetic, and she's just awesome. She's so positive. I love it.
I know. And her baby just turned 1.
Yes. So exciting.
So cute. So here is a clip with Genevieve.
Are you originally from California?
I am. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. So now I live in Los Angeles. So just a little 5.5 hour drive from where I grew up. But yeah, I'm a California girl.
Nice.
Wow.
So far away from Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, Frank and Jen are based in New York. So we're kind of spread out.
Okay. Oh, you sure are. I have family in Minnesota. Definitely fond Minnesota memories.
Wow, small
Love
world.
my Midwest people.
Oh, yeah. We're so nice, don't you know?
Exactly. Well, actually, a fun fact, we have in our touring rider, like, all the list of stuff that we need, and people, they read the rider, but they rarely read all the pages. They kind of like flip through, especially if it's like a big theater and they're like, oh, it's just a kid show. What do they need? Okay, great. So at the very end of our rider, we have in small print, it says, when when possible, we request that all bad news be delivered in a Midwestern accent. And we just put it there just to see like who actually reads the
That's
writer. And so
amazing.
some people will be like, got that last one. We're like, oh, you read it. Good.
I'll give you my phone number, and if
Yeah,
it's bad
exactly.
news, I'll just like pull out the Minnesota mom.
Exactly. Yes.
And just
Thank you.
deliver it.
There's something soothing about that Minnesota
Like,
mom voice.
Genevieve Angela's on the phone.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, but I'm
then we
ready
just
for it. Yeah.
You'll see my name, you'll be like, oh, here we go.
No,
With her hot
At least
dish.
it'll sound nice.
canceled. What happened? Yeah.
Oh boy. So we said that on our list of people that we would for sure go to Disney with, Allie was one of them. Another that we're just making plans with is Cindy, aka Disney Queen. She is a Disney YouTuber. We are 100%. What is it? We have to go to Ohana,
Yes,
and there is a table with a castle view.
absolutely.
And I have never been there.
Yeah,
But
you
you and
need to
Cindy
go.
have.
Yes, we're going to show you the way. This is the way.
This is the way.
Mhm.
And Cindy said that we have to go around Christmas time.
Yeah, I'm in for all of that.
So we are doing this with Cindy. We also chatted about her eye for interior design, event planning, meal prep. But Cindy is also, I want to shout her out quick. She is making the most beautiful Christmas wreaths right now.
Mhm.
And she makes these bows out of ribbon that are just so stunning. And you're probably thinking like, wow, it's a bow. Like I can do this with my shoe. No, they are stunning. So if you have
Yes.
not checked her out on Instagram, she's Cindy, aka Disney Q on Instagram. So check her out. I believe she's selling them too. So if you need a Disney Christmas wreath, I don't know, she might have some Disney ones. Check her out. And here is our clip with Cindy. So let's hear your story.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I actually had done a few videos and just for the fun of it, and it was mostly decorating. And that's actually what I thought I would do. And then one year, I don't know why, I kind of said, why am I not doing Disney videos? And I did like a search and I was like, wow, there's a big community of Disney YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
And, but what really started it was 2 years ago, my husband had a stroke. And so I ended up being at home a lot, taking care of him.
Mhm.
And it was my outlet. When he started to get better, he would go for walks. I started videotaping myself talking about Disney.
Yeah.
And it was an outlet. It was something to relieve stress and to kind of take myself away and not really think about the circumstances at the time.
Mhm.
And over time, people started watching the videos. And for me, it became more, I met friends through doing the YouTube videos. And I had made friends through Disney a long time ago. I used to be on the Walt Disney World Info Disney board.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of friends that way. We've remained friends for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I knew that the Disney community was a great community to be a part of, but I did not realize just how much YouTube would change my life as far as that's concerned. I don't have a big audience, but the ones that I do have are like really great people.
Next up is our interview with Mai and Jim from the Spanish education channel, Spanish and Go. You can find them on YouTube. They are a channel that I watch all the time, and I'm watching with my kids as well because I'm teaching them Spanish. They have the best Spanish tips, and they present it in an interesting way. It's visually appealing because they go to Spanish-speaking countries. They take the most amazing B-roll, and they're applying these Spanish tips in a real way. Like they'll go to a real restaurant, and they'll show you how to order a meal in Spanish. And so it's not like you're just sitting there and you're seeing a bunch of words pop up on a computer. No, they put you in the actual situation and show you how it works. No Secret, which I just vomit all over them. My favorite episode is their Dia de los Muertos one. So if you have not checked them out, please do so. And here is a small segment of our time with Mai and Jim. Enjoy.
So I am from Mexico, from a town called Manzanillo in the state of Colima. That's on the Pacific side of the country. And I went to college because I wanted to become a language teacher, an English teacher mainly in Mexico, but I was also teaching Spanish. I took French. And when I graduated, I realized that I wasn't going to be learning, like, quote unquote, because, I consider myself a learner. Um, and I feel like you don't have to be in school to keep learning. But I thought, what am I going to do to keep practicing my English? Because in college, all of my lessons were in English. Everything I had to read was in English. So I had a friend, a classmate, and she was great with languages. Like, she spoke Italian. We didn't even have Italian lessons in my school, but she spoke Italian and French, and she was fluent in like a bunch of languages. And I asked her, like, what do you do to keep up with all of the languages and to have such a great accent in all of them? And she told me about this website, and that's when Jim and I met.
Yeah, we met on this language learning site, which is basically like Facebook, but for languages.
Yeah.
And you go there to find other people to practice with. And you can just chat via direct message, or you can actually schedule lessons with an actual teacher. And Maya and I just found each other's profiles. Just the way the website was set up, we could see that, oh, okay, she wanted to practice her English. I wanted to learn Spanish. She was already way better than I was, but we were able to connect and have basically a language exchange. And so that was basically the start of everything. After 6 months of me starting to learn Spanish, I met Maya on this website. And then 6 months later, we decided to meet up in person. We met in Mexico. And we realized that we had a mutual passion for travel and languages. And I had a background in recording. So I used to own a recording studio in Rochester, Minnesota, as we were talking about before. And so that basically set me up for what we're doing now. I run the technical side of Spanish and Go. So we have the YouTube channel, as you mentioned, and I'm usually the one setting up the camera and recording most of the footage. And Mai does most of the planning.
Okay, so next up, we have someone that I came across in one of the many Facebook groups I'm in for being a parent or having kids. That's the same thing as being a parent, or or schooling or homeschooling or something. But her name is Dr. Z, and she is on Instagram at Dr. Z at Home. She now also has a Facebook page as well, which we talked about her coming up with on the episode. But Angela, you were not there, and I'm so sad you weren't. So we definitely, I think, have to have her back again, because she does such awesome stuff with her kids and then shares them so that you can do it too. And it's these great science experiments, just a bunch of STEAM activities that are really interactive. And for different ages, her kids are different ages. So a lot of her activities apply to kids at different stages, or she'll tailor them for each age group, which is so helpful, especially at this time when so many people are home schooling or distance learning. So it was so great to talk to her. She has so much knowledge. And here's a little clip from that episode. So can you give us a little background about you? I know you have a PhD in biology, which is amazing, but if you could kind of tell us your backstory a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So my students call me Dr. Z, and I have been a professor for 6 years, and I have served as program director for the past 5 years for a biology bachelor's degree that I created from the ground up. So I created all the curriculum, and I really love that. I love designing curriculum, and I love teaching. And my overarching goal has always been to make STEM accessible. So even with my college students, a lot of times people find it intimidating, science, biology, a lot of the terms. And so, it doesn't have to be, it can be fun. And that's always, my goal. My goal is to reach as many people as possible. So, I'm a mom of 3. I love to cook and bake when there's not a pandemic going on. I love to travel.
Yeah. Yes, I miss traveling too.
I know, who doesn't? It's so sad. So I worked in various labs through college. After college, I actually started as a math major.
Okay.
I took a psych class and I just fell in love with the neuroscience, the study of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I majored in neuroscience, and then I worked in lots of labs through college, after college. And I saw these grad students who just had this deep understanding of how things work.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I want to do that. My parents are immigrants and they somehow breed lots of scientists. My siblings and I are all scientists.
It's amazing.
And so, I really fell in love with biology. I love thinking about why we behave the way we do and how much of it is hardwired or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I I applied for grad programs. My husband and I actually applied at the same time to PhD programs.
Nice.
So we applied to like 10 schools. We did our PhDs at the same time. So I did my PhD in molecular biology, which is kind of like the small parts inside the cell and how it makes the cell work. The best part of my PhD and undergrad always has been just teaching. I love teaching lots of different audiences. So in grad school, there were like classes for retired people. I taught retired people. I taught undergrads. So the gamut.
Yeah.
Back in late September, we talked with touringplans.com Len Testa, someone I know kind of well.
One you may have worked a little bit with.
He was my boss for a little bit, about the launch of their new trip planning tools. We talked about augmented reality, some stuff that people chat about every day. And we talked about the most popular room at Walt Disney World. Spoiler, it's at the Polynesian, but I'm not going to tell you where. This was a really cool episode. It's nice to talk to Len again. They're doing really amazing things over at Touring Plans. So if you have not listened to this episode, I will give you a sneak peek right now.
So one of the reasons why we wanted to move to the new version of the app was that the platform will let us do things that will help people, that will be interesting 5 or 10 years from now. So if you think about touring plans, right? Disney just figured out that touring plans were interesting in 2019 when they announced Genie, right? But that was part of my thesis in the year 2000. So 20 years ago, we knew that like computer optimized touring plans were going to be a thing. And that idea has basically lasted us 20 years. So the question that I asked the team was, okay, 20 years from now, what technology will be basically taken for granted or will be assumed standard that we can implement now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the thing we came up with was augmented reality. Are you familiar with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the idea that, imagine you're wearing a pair of like Apple Glass glasses, where you can not only see ahead, but there's little cameras that are adding things to what you're seeing. Yeah. So imagine you walked up to like Jungle Cruise, and this was the example I gave the team. You walk up to Jungle Cruise, you look at the wait time sign. On your Apple Glass screens, on your lenses, you should see not only the actual sign in real life that's in Walt Disney World, but what if we could add other information to that sign while you're looking at it, like not only the posted wait time, but how long we think you're actually going to wait.
Yeah.
Or maybe the ratings for different age groups. Like we know that you have 2 kids under age 10. Why don't we show you Jungle Cruise is rated 4.5 stars for adults and 3.5 stars for your particular children's age group. Mm-hmm. That's relevant information. You don't have to take your phone out to look at it. You don't have to navigate to an app, and then bring up Jungle Cruise. What if the glasses just figured out automatically what you were looking at and what was relevant for it?
So growing up, I was a big Mickey Mouse Club fan, the new Mickey Mouse Club that came out in '89. And always in the club is a group that was developed back in 2012, I believe. And one of the co-founders of that group is Lisa Kanata, and she is someone I had connected with via Twitter, and she was so gracious enough to come on Theme Park Thursday, I think twice, and I was like, you know what? we need to have you over here too, because you are also a mom who is working these crazy hours with Always in the Club, but you're also homeschooling, which is so super interesting. So it was great to talk to her with a Disney connection background, but also homeschooling kids and how she makes it all work while living up in Canada. So here's a clip from that one.
So Dale Godbaldo, my partner, he is many things, actor and a former Musketeer. And he launched Always in the Club as a social media platform to kind of create this community to keep fans of the 90s Mickey Mouse Club in touch and up to date with what the cast was doing now. And so I had followed the platform on Facebook and Twitter. And about a year later, I had an idea for a book. And I was like, thought to myself, no one has ever put out any kind of book on the 90s Mickey Mouse Club, at least an official one. So of course, great idea, got all excited, but then quickly that turns to, oh, how would I even do that? How do you coordinate that many people? How do you get permission? I don't want to be sued by Disney, blah, blah, blah. So it dawned on me that Always in the Club, I had this feeling Dale was behind it. He never made it about him, so it wasn't very easy to figure out, but I had a feeling he was the one behind it. So I reached out to him and said I had this great idea. And so he set up a meeting time with me and I pitched it to him. He loved it. Right away, brought me on board to Always in the Club, and we've been running that together ever since.
So in this crazy world of making new friends, we made a new friend named Elizabeth who brought these two people to our attention. They are furloughed cast members. They have a big background in musical theater and education, and they have taken that to creating a podcast for kids called The Super Secret Hive. And their names are Julie and Mike. I should have mentioned that.
They have names.
They have names. Julie and Mike were awesome and to come on the episode and tell us about their background, how they know each other, which was so super interesting, that they both worked in Disney, and this podcast that they created, which my son obsessed with it. He is anxiously awaiting and hoping for a season 2 because he loved all the initial episodes. I love the fact that I like to listen to podcasts when I'm driving. And sometimes it's hard in the car with two kids to kind of keep them engaged if it's a longer car ride. And, you try playing different types of music, maybe bring in some coloring and things to do. But this was a great alternative to all of it. By having a podcast, they can use their imagination to what they're hearing about. Then if you go onto their website here at thehive.com, there's really cool printables that you can use to coincide with the episodes, so you can kind of go on this journey with each episode. So check out the Super Secret Hive on your favorite podcasting platform. Hopefully there'll be a season 2. And here is Julie and Mike to tell us more. And then where did your paths meet?
He's just been a lifelong mentor. And whenever I had these opportunities pop up, I would just be like, hey, Mike, don't know what I'm doing. Can I run this by you? And so he's really helped to continue to foster that learning throughout the year. I mean, well over 15 years now, which has been very, very cool. And then as I started this business and started getting projects, funded in whatever ways, I'd be like, oh, can I hire you to do this project with me? Which was so cool. What a funny dynamic, but what a cool thing. And so he, came on board for, maybe it was just like a little video here that he would do score for, or a song here, or projects that weren't funded. I'd be like, hey, I'm like writing an album and I've never written a song before. I don't know what I'm doing. Want to look at these lyrics? And like, so he's just been really great about, whatever I'm doing and throw his way. He's been really great about coming on board in whatever capacity he's able. And then, so we had just been working on an audio project together this spring. So we were in the world of audio, and COVID was starting to happen. We weren't sure we weren't sure what was going to happen. We weren't sure what the duration of this furlough was going to be, but we had just been working together. We had also toyed around with the idea of, hey, wouldn't it be so cool to do a kids podcast together? We'd done, these animations and these live musicals, but something was really cool about the idea of just doing audio where you really just focus on the story and the characters and the sound and making it such a beautiful, immersive experience, but with no screen time.
And finally, we had Ben Rudnick from Ben Rudnick and Friends on the show. He is a musical entertainer for families, kids, whoever. You could probably compare him to, he's like, what would you say? He's maybe like the children's version of the Grateful Dead. I don't know. He just like emits coolness.
He's so cool. And he's like, so genuine too.
Oh my gosh. And when you ask him a question, he really takes the time to think about it, and then he gives you an amazing answer.
Yes, absolutely.
We talked with him about the 20th anniversary of his band and how he held a live stream. During the pandemic, a lot of shows, a lot of tours were canceled. So he turned his 20th anniversary show into a live stream. That was held November 21st. So we chatted about that. We chatted about the creation of his band and what he's been doing this whole time, which is, spoiler, a lot of things. So take a listen to that. Well, since you have been doing this for 20 years and celebrating with the 20th anniversary show, can you share a couple of your favorite memories from the past 2 decades?
Yeah, I have like 10, that just off my head. But there's this one, like I said, we get to play these like wonderful town commons, and the sun, is generally on the way down. It's summer, everybody's in a good mood, and the weather's perfect. And we were playing, we felt the need to record Somewhere Over the Rainbow, What a Wonderful World, Just Like Is. And, it's fun to do. It's just fun. And we put a little spin on it, but we were playing it, and there was this older couple waltzing. And, it's just that perfect moment where they're not kids, they're just like this whole lifetime, and they're waltzing to us.
Yeah.
And I look at John, and John looks at me, and, it's like, this is cool.
Yeah.
It's good.
So that, I don't know if that's the top one, but
that's a good one.
It really shines. It's got that Disney dust around it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Okay. There are still so many episodes we didn't even talk about, which is crazy, but I love all these clips. And if you have not listened to any of these episodes, feel free to go back into our archives. We are available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Where are we? At Google,
Castbox, anywhere you can listen, Spotify.
Find us and go back to all those episodes and listen. And I'm so excited for season 2. I'm really excited for season 2 because we already have some guests lined up for the beginning of January.
An easy way to find where you can listen is to head to our Twitter or our Instagram, and we have a link in our bio, and it shows everywhere you can listen and brings you right there. Yes. We really, really appreciate all of you who have been on this little journey with us and, stuck around while we found our footing and kind of stumbled around, I'm sure. But it's been really fun for Jen and I. It's been a great way for me to get to know her better and for her to get to know how neurotic I am.
Fall in love with you. Mm-hmm.
And it's what's special about Jen is she isn't that kind of friend that is just angry. And I act like we've had so many fights. We literally have not had one fight. She's not that
like,
jerk.
How many angry friends do you have?
No, Jen is not that type of friend where if she has an issue, she just kind of like stuffs it down and then gets a little passive aggressive. No, if she has a question or if she's like feeling a vibe, she'll just text or FaceTime and she'll be like, so this is the feeling I'm getting. And I feel like we need to discuss it. And I feel like in my 31 years, those friends are hard to find. And I'm just feeling really grateful for you.
Well, I'm grateful for you. We just keep it real. That's how we roll. That's how we started. That's what we're doing. And I think it's hard when we live so far away from each other. So, this our communication relies on Zoom or, text. Texting. So it's good for us to be like, I haven't talked to you all week. Are we okay? Oh, we're totally fine. And I'm all on my head. Oh, okay.
good to know. I mean, I grew up with all boys, and if there was a dispute, we would wrestle. So since Jen and I can't,
we can't wrestle right now.
It can't be a WWE thing since we're, hours away.
But I am grateful for you, especially in this pandemic. Our kids are the same age. It's been so helpful to just have another mom going through it, to bounce ideas off of, and then to come to this podcast. And along the way, have guests on that were super interesting and so fun to talk to, and getting to meet people we didn't even know before this. So that's really all been really fun.
And we will keep doing our best for you. We will keep finding good guests. We will keep putting out good content. I might accidentally keep swearing, but I will work on that.
Nah. Never change.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give us a review on iTunes if you'd like. You can find us on Twitter at Magic Mom Monday, Instagram at Magical Mommy Monday, or you can email us at magicalmommymondays@gmail.com. I hope you're having a great day, night, whatever you're doing, and we'll talk to you next season. Bye.
Bye.